Peace, God. Peace, Goddess. Peace and blessings. It's been a minute, but I'm back at it. Like, I took some time, like, because I had a lot of trauma. I went through a lot of trauma. I experienced a lot of trauma, and like, while I was processing it, it was. I just posted some videos, like from some animes and some movies that correlated with my trauma. But I took some time and I was processing, and I was doing some shadow work, and I was journaling, and I was healing. And I knew I had to take some time before I spoke, because I could speak out of a place of emotion rather than logic. And so I had to really realize, like, when I took some time, why I started this to begin with, why I started this whole vlogging thing. And it was because to share my message with other like-minded people and people who aren't like-minded but need the information or the message. That's what I realized, like, while I was going through this. Like, I was watching, like, instead of me like posting content, I was watching all of my friends' content and random people's content, and it was helping me process. And I got the word and the message that I'm supposed to speak, because we all have keys. We all have like a piece of the big puzzle, because we are reflections of one another. Every living being. Let everything that have breath praise the Lord. And I come to give my messages. But while doing so, like, I took some time and started making a journal. Like, while I was healing, I made a journal, and I documented some of my downloads and my experiences. I recorded some, and now I'm going to find time day to day to be more active and start posting. And I have some things like to share. At a time, like I felt like when Pac got locked up and he said, like, I don't got no friends. I got people on the other side, I got people on this side, but I don't got no friends. And that's because, like, when you really become enlightened, you realize that you don't have any friends or any enemies. Everyone is simply like, everyone and every being is simply a reflection of you. And some, even if some align with your goals, they don't align with all your goals. And even if they align with your goals, that individual may want to ascertain or compete with your goals, or stop you from reaching the goal, and so they can reach it. And so they become, you feel me, antagonists. And so I've decided, like, to simply, now that I took some time to really think and process and heal and do the shadow work and understand the deeper meaning behind my experiences, I'm choosing to speak now from a place of knowing and a place of, like, peace and sound and body. I usually start these high, but I'm sober. And that's because, like, I'm not channeling the messages anymore. these messages I've already recorded. These, like, I've already, like, journaled or recorded it in voicemail. And so I'm just gonna record them on video and begin posting them. And I realized, like, that's not what it's about. Like, all the cults that follow me, all the gangs, all the organizations, all the groups, all the people against me, like, I used to think it was happening to me, but now I understand it's happening for me. And that on a deeper level, everything is already happening. Everything is already happening at once. And there is time. It's just a social construct. And I've took some time even astral traveling in the 5D. And I've realized, like, from the heavens, like, comes to earth. In that verse where it says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's bringing things from the 5D into the 3D. Heaven is a state of mind, and it's a place, it's a realm, and it's higher. It's the highest dimension. And so I'm learning to manifest rather than create, which is the feminine principle with the universe. Also realize that we don't create anything. There's nothing new underneath the sun. What we think is creation, what we think is learning, is really remembering. What we think is creating is really recreation, remixing, and co-creation with God in the universe. And we house God in our temple, and the universe is all around us and in us. And it says, like, to seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you, because this is the process of manifestation versus creating. When you create things, it's in the 3D, and we don't create anything, so you're really trying to control and manipulate and orchestrate things into existence in the physical. Even if you use the mental plane and the emotional plane, it's still in the 3D, which you're controlling by force. Manifestation is the feminine principle as opposed to creation. So manifesting is where you allow things to come to you, because everything you want or need already exists. And like that verse in the Bible where it says, take no mind where you should lay your head, or what clothes you should wear, or what you should eat. Jesus is saying that when he says, like, he clothes the birds, he feeds the animals, he's saying, like, we were given dominion over the animals, and we believe we have to separate and isolate ourselves and exalt ourselves over the animals, when in reality we all work together in the circle of life instead of the pyramid, which is the patriarchal infrastructure of the New World Order, which is based in control and domination, with the 1% at the top and the caste system and the slaves below, which one is a slave to the other in a long line, just like a corporation, a CEO, a manager, a supervisor, a lead, and a crew member. And this is the system in which man has created, which is really opposite of its original creation, which is why the world is in such disorder and dismay. Because originally the woman existed. The woman was the first humanoid creation on earth, the closest thing to God. And the oldest one they found was Lucy in Ethiopia. And so at a time, only women existed. And then when women existed, when woman existed as God is, she chose to recreate herself. Not procreate, but recreate, extend her life, extend the wavelength of her energy to replicate herself, to extend her life force into another reflection and have a child through parthenogenesis or the Immaculate Conception. And procreation is different than Immaculate Conception or parthenogenesis. It's actually manifestation. Procreation is co-creation between man and woman. Manifestation is co-creation between God and the universe. And this is what you see with Mary and Jesus. Joseph served a purpose, but it wasn't to be a sperm donor or a biological father or to share genes to help procreate, but to help Mary and to help Jesus. And so in the beginning, woman recreated herself. She manifested herself. She replicated herself. She cloned herself. In which she brought another force, which is her, a replication of her, into life. She recreated her form through her womb, through the portal. And she used her temple, which housed God within her, and she recreated. And she kept recreating because she wanted to experience herself. At a time she was free and she was one with nature. And she didn't have any mirrors to see herself. Sure, she could look in the lake, but she didn't have any reflections of her. And so she recreated. And at a time, only women existed. And women lived in harmony. They even had circles, seances. They shared every type of love between each other. Romantic, platonic, eros, agape, altruistic, they embody self-love. And we see this today, but we don't see it a lot, often. And at a time, there was a separation. And this is the process of evolution. There was a separation where the first wars happened, the first fights, the first arguments, the first disagreements, which turned into wars. But when women warred with each other, it was on a spiritual plane, because they were very spiritual people. They were very in tune. They were one with God. They were one with everything in existence. This is before the millions of years of de-evolution, to where they didn't even need to speak. Because again, speaking is something that de-evolves us as humans. Communication is not something that requires words or even pictures. We can communicate with telepathy. And at this time, they communicated with telepathy. With telepathy, they communicated with colors. They even transported images in each other's minds At this point in time, what we see is the replica of human, which is AI or the computer, and the whole system of the matrix. It already exists within us. But as we're dumbed down and domesticated, we begin to rely on everything outside of us. To think, we ask Google, we ask Siri, we ask Alexa. We don't even begin to search for the answers because all the answers lie within us. But they don't want us thinking for ourselves, so they teach us how to think. And then they teach us what to think. Even calculation. We look at calculation. Why do we see like that math scores are so low in the US? Because we use a calculator for everything. Why are math scores so high in China? Because they use an abacus, where they literally sit down and they count, which stimulates not just the conscious, but also the subconscious, because you're actively moving the pieces. And then it stimulates your prefrontal cortex, because you have to keep account of it, and then subconsciously you're keeping a track with the motion of your body. And so it's a deeper level of learning, and it's more difficult. And without this difficulty, this is what domesticates us. Like we go outside, and nobody wants to go outside, and it's almost summer. It's late spring, almost summer. Summer's right here. Nobody wants to go outside in 90 degrees, 100 degrees. Why? Because you're used to conditioned air for 200 days. You're used to conditioned air. It's too hot, let me change it to make it warmer. It's too cold, let me change it to make it, or it's too hot, let me change it to make it cooler. It's too warm, let me change it to make it, or it's too hot, let me change it to make it cooler. It's too cold, let me change the air to make it warmer, instead of changing yourself. It's this instant gratification which leads to our de-evolution, our domestication, the same way as a dog. This is how we have it in the Matrix, this management through the system of caste systems. Like the government manages us. We go to work and we go to school, our teacher or our supervisor manages us. We go back to our home, someone manages the home. It may be one parent or two parent household. Someone manages the home, but someone manages that person who manages the home. And someone manages the children and the animals. And this is like the domestication, to where if you let your dog go and you let it out into the wild, it would have a very low rate of survival, because it would have lost its instincts, like of smelling, of knowing where to look for food, when it knows like, wait, my owner's gonna have food for me. So now it doesn't know how to hunt. It's lost some of its hunting instincts. It doesn't even think past certain parameters, because it knows like, okay, this is home, this is the backyard, this is right, this is wrong. It's even been taught and trained to go against its own nature. As to go to the bathroom here, you can't go to the bathroom there. And so it's like, this is what the world is coming to. In the first wars with women, they warred spiritually, to where they warred in the astral plane. And this is where you see like animes like Death Note, or you see movies like The Craft or Charm. They warred in the spiritual plane and in the astral plane, to where it didn't even have to reach the physical plane. But even then, evolution came, and so they warred in the physical plane. But when they warred in the physical plane, they then they used nature to have wars, which led to destruction.